Welcome back to the Produce Industry Show, everyone. Today is April 20th, 2021. That's right. For all you people out there, it is 420. We got a pretty cool interview today. I'm excited. I'm just excited to be on the Produce Industry Show live again for you, for the produce industry. And guess what? We have a lot of cool sponsors out there that are representing the podcast and the show. Terra Exports, United Fresh, Flavor Wave, Indianapolis Fruit Company, John Green Logistics. I mean, think about it. All of these companies coming together to support a cause. Ag Tools is even supporting a virtual networking hour next week, everyone. So please join the Produce Industry Show and check out some of these live cool interviews. So today we have Zach Blank. He is an entrepreneur, experienced designer, a technologist based in Portland, Oregon. That's right. I'm in Tampa. He is in Portland, coming to you live. He is the CEO of Straightaway. We are going to talk about Straightaway today, this mobile application that is revolutionizing the industry with third-party logistics and route optimization. And that's what's cool about this. So let's go ahead and bring Zach Blank, the CEO of Straightaway, on the call today.
What's up, Patrick?
Zach, how are you doing, my man?
Living the dream. How you doing?
Hi, I would say living the dream. It's I'm in Tampa, Florida. It's a little bit wet outside. It's been raining for like 2 days, but you know what? I'm here. It's as good as it gets at this point, my man. So
Sounds
again,
like
though, thanks
Portland
for
out there.
coming. I see the beautiful weather behind you. Are you? I know you're based out of Oregon. Is that where you're residing today?
Yeah, this is sunny Portland. We're going through a heat wave over here. 80 degrees. Can't complain. Life is good. Yeah.
80 degrees. Are you serious?
Don't worry.
I mean, listen, last weekend it was 84 here in Florida. It was nice, but now it's just it's gray and it's raining. That's probably, what Oregon has every once in a while too. But listen, stop talking about the weather. Let's get into Straightaway so we can get some of our listeners on board with what Straightaway is and pretty much what you do, because I had one of your mutual connections reach out to me saying this would be a great chat about Straightaway, what Zach's doing in the logistics world. Listen, I loved your tagline, which is "Don't go the extra mile," and I know you're going to talk a little bit about that because people are like, "What do you mean, don't go the extra mile?" Let's talk a little bit about Straightaway and what you've developed here.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, obviously, don't go the extra mile is a little tongue in cheek, but it fell into our laps and we really like it. What Straightaway is and what we set out to do and what we've accomplished so far to date is a route optimization tool that helps drivers be as effective on their routes as possible. And when I say drivers, the vast majority of our customers are people who do 100 stops or more. So these are folks who are out there all day. These are 8, 10, 12-hour days sometimes. And it's a really, really good drive. Just imagine that you're out there, maybe in a new city, maybe even a city that you know really well, and someone hands you a route and it's like, hey, here's 100, 150, 200 stops. Like, go. You've got to hit all these houses and you've got to deliver all this stuff. It's a hard job. And so we develop right now 2 mobile apps, iOS and Android native apps that help drivers essentially get their job done.
So when you talk about drivers getting their job done, so are we talking about big rig trucks? Are we talking about like these like DoorDash drivers? Like, how does Straightaway fit into the mix? Because doesn't everybody have a phone that can just pop in Google Maps or Waze and get from A to B?
Yeah, we're squarely in the last mile delivery space. So this is everybody from a FedEx driver, a USPS, UPS to, DoorDash, Instacart, those guys, Amazon. Those are the powerhouse people that we've got on the platform. And there's surprisingly all sorts of other people who use the tech that we've developed, especially within optimization. So you can imagine these other industries, there's a spectrum. On the light side, we've got real estate agents who are like, hey, I've got to take a client around to 5 open houses. Just like, what's the best way to do those 5? I want to know. Enter 5 addresses, hit optimize, boom, it's in the best order. And I just saved, an hour of drive time because I'm doing it in the best way possible. So that's like on the low end of it. And then as you start ramping up, you can think about dry cleaners who are doing pickup and delivery all day, especially now with COVID.
That's a
And
good
this has
one.
reshaped a lot of businesses to be able to do pickup and delivery. To food delivery. Food delivery is, and today's 420, big weed delivery market out here in Portland and a lot of other places.
100%.
It's a little bit different with those guys because on demand is out and back, right?
True.
Usually you get an order, you're at your depot or at your store or whatever, and you go and you deliver that and you come back. So those guys, it's a little bit different of a use case, but still they're super users of Straightaway. And then, like I said before, the power users, which is those package couriers. And a lot of them are working for some of those big brands that we know.
Got it. So realistically, that's why when we talked off the mic, we talked about disrupting the third-party logistics industry. Quick shout out though, real quick, to Jay Gardner in Citrus America. He misses his hometown of Portland, Zach. Looks like Jay Gardner's from Portland, and he said also looks like we're having some Portland weather here also in Florida. So hey Jay, thanks for tuning in. Last mile delivery in the disrupting the third party logistics space. You're right, because as being a driver, right, you're looking at how can you get your job done in the most efficient way possible. I mean, heck, if you go back even just 10, 12 years, and I remember printing MapQuest, right, Zach? I would print these MapQuests. I used to work for my dad, and he would say, hey, you got to go to these 8 or 9 packing houses today, right? And I was like, okay. And he's like, I get on MapQuest, I print the map, and I'd go from A to B to C. And sometimes, Zach, I would go the mountain way, right? Sometimes, went up on the hill, went this way. It was definitely not the best route to do. Okay, it was definitely not the best technology. It wasn't the time. I mean, how cool did we think MapQuest was, Zach, when we were able to type in an address, press print, and not have to literally remember every single direction? And that's how couriers used to have to do it back in the days too. They didn't have, you remember those big map booklets we used to carry cross country when we went on our family vacation. So this is very interesting because I believe, I was going to ask a question of how, but I believe there's some type of algorithm, there's some type of mapping that, how does this work to where the app decides that is the best route? What if there's red lights that take too long? How and why?
Yeah. All right. A couple things to say. One, that was 10 years ago, Patrick. A lot of people are still doing that today. They're still just printing out. Like, that's how we figured out there was a problem, right? My co-founder in this business, I'm not going to name the big carrier that he is associated with, but like his drivers get printed manifests of 200 stops.
Oh, wow.
And they're not in the order. Wow. And it's just a PDF printed. They're not in order. There's no directions, and there's not even a map. There's not even a printed map of where they are. So that's how we got turned on to this problem. And we started that a little over 2 years ago. This is recent. And I talk to customers almost every day who are like, hey, this is what our business looks like today. We've got like a dry erase map on the wall, and we go and do territories and things like that. And this is how it runs. And it's like, okay, we can help you. Let's talk about this. So that's the first thing. The other thing, like, if we're going to nerd out a little bit on the tech, it's a fascinating problem. Going all the way super nerdy, it's called the traveling salesman problem. It's a computer science problem that's been around forever in the world of computer science, since the 60s. And it's basically like, if you imagine a traveling salesman who's got to hit all of these different cities, and they've got to hit each city only one time and return back to where they started, what's the most efficient route? And It's one of those things, like, we can develop an algorithm to get better and better and faster at it, but there's no necessarily solving it, or we haven't solved it yet, at least, because it's an exponentially hard problem. The more stops you add, it gets exponentially harder to solve. So
wow,
that's what we set out to solve. That is like that. When we say optimization, it is the traveling salesman problem. Now, building on that to make things even more complex, that's route optimization. You then have vehicle routing. Route optimization is like, you've got one driver and 100 stops. What's the best order? What if you have 10 drivers and 1,000 stops? And now you've got to not only optimize one route, but you then have to divvy up amongst all those drivers. And so that's vehicle routing, super complex, another thing that Straightaway excels at. And last point to your question about like red lights and how do we actually know this is the best? We take in hundreds of data points all in real time, including traffic, including road closures, including even weather, to figure out what's going on in the road network. And that's always updated. And so we send notifications to drivers and say, like, hey, an hour ago we told you that this is the most optimized route, but you know what, we're calling an audible. It's now this. And that's a setting in the app that drivers can turn on. And those things change throughout the day based on all of the variables that are going on.
100%. I mean, I think that's one of the, I would say, issues we have with some of the delivery companies now is we have our phone and we get to track them, right? And it's like, I swear, I was just talking to my wife about this. Ordered Uber Eats for lunch. It's funny we say Uber Eats. We ordered from a restaurant and Uber Eats delivered it. But I was like, I think they got stuck at the red light. I was like, I'm sitting there going, oh, if they got stuck at the red light, it's going to be this long because I know that red light, right, Zach? So I mean, that is very interesting because, I mean, there's got to be something in there. And I just keep going back to the days of like, these guys are just bringing around all these manifests with them, right? I mean, they're just carrying around tons of paper. I mean, I can't imagine. Now, my father-in-law works for the post office. So trust me, I do understand it a little bit. I understand that people still deliver mail, right? I sometimes you think about that. And when I was a kid, Zach, I used to run to the mailbox to get the mail every single day. You never know what was in there. My kids don't want to get the mail. They're like, for what? They're like, what's going on in that thing? They're like, there's a spider in there, right? And it's like, it's just so different. And, I'm making this, correlation, but you can compare that to, how this is working, because from the mail being delivered to now you're on demand with that Amazon package gets delivered to your doorstep. You have a notification of when it's going to be there. You know what to expect, when to expect. And it sounds like this is what the app is doing as well, right? It's giving more deliverables for the last mile delivery. Heck, I have an app called Flavor Wave. We use Google API. You probably know that. And we use Google Mapping. So now route optimization, it goes through Google's route optimization. I know you could probably bug that and go, oh, there's so much you're missing and that. But it's so true, because when you're in Miami, when you're in Los Angeles, when you're in New York, I believe that your company has a lot of those factors that matter, right? There's a lot of those things where you can sit there and go, whoa, 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 whoa. If one of the bridges is down or closed, or you have, snow covering, this area, Doe Commerce is got heavy traffic because of this. This app will notify you. I don't believe any of the other apps out there at all do that unless they're working with you. But I know, because I've had Uber on my phone before, that no, you could sit in traffic for 30, 45 minutes. Heck, I've been in traffic with an Uber for 30, 45 minutes, right, Zach?
Mm-hmm.
And that's no fun. It's no fun at all. So talk to me. I mean, listen, this is the produce industry show. The produce industry podcast is what we represent. I mean, when you look at Straightaway and you're looking at the future of it, how could people in the produce and supply chain, or consumers of our produce supply chain, benefit, and where's the future of Straightaway in this?
Yeah, so I talked a lot about where Straightaway is today and what we've been focusing on, and I'll switch gears to answer that question a little bit into what we're focusing on in the future and what our vision is. So, as it relates, so we're squarely in last mile, and that's where we focus, and that's where our business is. But we're building something that's going to expand what last mile means, right? So we've got customers. A really relevant customer to this conversation is, imagine a CSA, right? They are delivering local farm fresh food to their community, and we benefit from that. Our local CSA, the one that we order, like me personally, uses Straightaway, which is an amazing to see, and it's great to have a customer that I can just like go out to the driver and be like, "Hey, how was the experience with Straightaway today?" and banter a little bit and get some customer insight there. Going to the vision, we believe that we can create an infrastructure that doesn't exist today to enable more local deliveries and get more things to people. The things already exist in their city, whether it's produce, whether it's food, whether it's electronics or coffee makers or TVs or anything. That thing is probably in your store, in a store in your city. What we want to build is the infrastructure. What we are building is the infrastructure to be able to get a driver to get that thing to you quickly. And so, whether it is food, whether it is anything else, that's where we're headed.
I like it. I mean, I think that that's a good option. I mean, like I said, even with the apps that I've come out with in more of the industry is developing new technology, right? And I think that we're going to see that. I think this is a great option because one of the things that we spend most of our money on, Zach, is logistics, is the last mile logistics. I mean, every time even when you're a produce producer from the farm, Zach, you could say, oh, everything's FOB, everything's FOB. But when the wholesaler, retailer, or consumer ends up calling saying, "No, my cost is too large because of freight," who's going to lower their FOB, right? So it's obviously concern to all of us because we'd rather have a driver on the road minimal amount of time to pick up more produce than have them out on the road. Some of these drops, when you look at the big reefer trucks, right? The big reefer trucks, I mean, they're carrying one load to one person. But then when it gets to a wholesaler and they're going to either restaurants or going to food service departments, they could send out a van that does, like you said, 35 to 45 stops in one day. And I guarantee you, because I've heard it before, they're using Waze. They're using Waze to just go ahead and all right, type in the next address, type in the next address, type in the next address. And that's really all they're doing. And that's a tough game too, because that's labor. That's still a lot of labor intensive, what you're going to do, how you're going to do it. Am I right? I mean, you have things that if you got it already preloaded, when I looked at your app, you can have documents preloaded in here, you can route preloaded in here, you can have the parcel numbers. I mean, I don't believe that that's what's going on with people now when they're making these deliveries. So you're making it a little bit simpler for them to do that. And I think that could be and I know we're talking to everybody, hey, produce people, if you're out there, but like I said, if you're delivering now and you've got your vans going out for last mile delivery, this is probably a good option to get on your device. So that way your drivers are getting to where they need to be and back in the right amount of time. Right, Zach?
That's right. Yeah, that's exactly right. The way that we view it is the last mile is both the hardest and the most important part of the logistics supply chain, right? This is the part, it's very expensive, the labor costs are huge, and oftentimes that's the interface between you and the customer. Like that driver is either, let's think about couriers for a second. They're either hucking that TV over a fence and busting it, or they're taking care with it and they're actually walking it up there and placing it carefully, hopefully placing it where it's obstructed, it's not going to get stolen. There's all of these different variables, and we believe that the driver has a lot of opportunity to either make or break that experience for the customer. And that's why we're obsessed with the driver and building tools to make the driver excel in their job. There's another piece of that optimization is just one aspect. If you think, let's think about COVID for a minute and how that's changed logistics overall. Before, there was a lot of opportunity for margin because a carrier or a courier would deliver, let's use shoes as an example, 500 pairs of, or let's use shoes because I know it better than produce. I'm not going to pretend here. 500 pairs of shoes to a store, right, in one delivery.
Okay.
They're not doing that anymore. They're delivering 500 pairs of shoes to 500 different houses.
True.
Well, they get to collect the same amount of money for that, but the labor costs have skyrocketed. It is way harder to deliver to 500 different houses than to one business, to one store. And so they're scrambling and trying to figure out like, okay, well, what's the new normal? Like, are we going to continue just delivering this way? Well, yeah, stores will open up more, and we're seeing that, but we're still like the volume of to homes is going to stay at that level. And so we need to rethink the whole business. And there's a lot, where we're bullish is what kind of technology can we put in place to make that amazingly efficient so then you can start extracting margin there and not just jacking up prices either for businesses or consumers.
It's crazy. You know what's funny though is if you look at like the consumer standpoint, I'm going to play the awesome consumer. So you look at someone, I'm going, wait a minute, did this guy just say it was harder to deliver to a big grocery, store or chain when they can deliver to my door? How funny is it on our side, the consumer feels that that's easier, right? Because of technology and where we've gone today. So it is so much easier to deliver to a wholesale, deliver loads at a time. I mean, heck, in the produce and supply chain industry, we complain about one drop. We want one drop, one pick. You know what I mean? If we got to go get, and we do all the time, Zach, we'll do, Same commodities, citrus commodities. We'll do oranges, navels, but then we'll add caracaras, we'll add, some lemons, we'll add a couple other commodities, right? So we got sometimes 2, 3 different packing ounces, and then sometimes we have 2, 3 different drops, and each stop, right, tags on a different percentage of money. You already know if you're dropping another, that's an extra 15 to 20 minutes for a regular last mile driver. That's an hour to 3 hours for a truck driver. So yeah, it's the consumer sees it as so easy. No, it's delivered to our
Yeah.
doorstep, but behind the scenes, it's a lot more than what it really is. So, no, man, I think what you're doing is great. I love that you've come up with it as a mobile application. That's what's really tough about today is that getting people on board with a mobile application. It's like cutting, like their ties with their first kid. They're like, wait a minute, you want me to do what? You want me to sign up for your app? Well,
Mm-hmm.
everyone, yes, that's what we're moving towards. It's just like a website or anything else. Soon, by 2030, I expect so many different companies to have apps all over the world, which is good. I think it's a good marketplace to get into as long as you have your niche. I believe this is a niche for a lot of different industries. And check it out, everyone. I had streaming below, straightaway.com. Zach, the one important question I have to ask you, if people want to get a hold of yourself or your organization, how can they go about doing that?
Check out getstraightaway.com. We've got, if you're on the live stream here or watching the video, we've got it up on screen. If you want to reach out to me, best place is LinkedIn. I'm always on there chatting with people, helping change logistics.
Helping change the third party, or no, disrupting the third party, but changing the last mile delivery. I like what you said earlier. You were saying, we're going to really expand to show what the last mile delivery really means. I think that's fantastic. Zach, I thank you for coming on the show today, man. I appreciate you being involved as you are in logistics and helping grow and succeed in not just the produce and supply chain industry, but multiple industries around the globe. So I appreciate you coming, and we'll have you back very soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Patrick. Good to see you.
Everyone, it was great to have Zach Blank on the line today. Just learned a lot about Straightaway. You got to download the app, everyone. Go to his website. You can get it on iOS or Android. I think it's fantastic already. Now, we have tons of work to do in the produce and supply chain world. Guess what? There's a lot of companies that are going direct to consumer. They're trying to figure out who to use, what application, what process. This is a great tool to have in your tool belt, everyone. Look at Straightaway. GetStraightaway.com. I want to thank everybody for coming and joining the Produce Industry Show's live stream today. We're going to have one a month, every month, and we might go 2 a month depending on samplings and unboxings and more fun created by who? You, the produce industry. So thank you, everyone. We'll see you in the field or on the horizon.